At the very beginning, in a world completely devastated by war, a group of mages faces the Demon King in the battle that will decide the fate of all. During the clash, the giant tries to crush them with his massive powers, launching attacks capable of destroying everything in sight. But instead of fighting him alone, the four mages unite their strength, combining their magic into a single strike, finally bringing down the Demon King after a long, grueling battle. Seeing victory before his eyes, Aftel sighs, wondering if his team truly managed to defeat the threat. With the war against the Demon Lord over, peace finally reigns once more, and the entire kingdom celebrates the enemy's defeat. After the four heroes return to the castle, they bow before the king to show their respect, and are met with a roaring standing ovation. As for the king, he congratulates them the moment he sees them. He also bestows upon them the title of the most powerful mages. From this moment on, they will be known as the four emperors of the realm, an incredible gift for any mage. Aftel quickly realizes that this recognition holds an even deeper meaning. In this world, the title of emperor is strictly reserved for those of noble blood. To have it extended to the world of magic is unprecedented, and Aftel feels deeply honored to receive it so suddenly. Even though the title is extremely sacred, the king decides to make an exception because of the group's heroic service during the war. Now, it is Aftel's turn to step forward. Before the entire court, he officially receives the title of the Thunder God Emperor and has the honor of being crowned by the king himself. As the crowd erupts into fervent applause, Aftel cannot hide his emotion, breaking down in tears in front of everyone. After all, he dedicated 40 years of his life to studying magic, enduring countless hours of training to finally reach this moment. After so much struggle, he finally sees his life's work recognized by the entire kingdom. The king then asks the crowd for one more round of applause for the new four emperors, stating they deserve even more honor than they are already receiving. Years later, in the present day, Aftel quietly looks out at the landscape, reminiscing about that defining moment in his life. However, his peace is short-lived as Merlin calls him to breakfast. Aftel wishes him a good morning, noting that the weather is perfect for another day of training, kicking off their daily routine. During practice, the students learn to balance a ball on their heads while casting spells. The goal of this exercise is to maintain perfect focus throughout the process, without losing control of their magic from minor movements. Watching them practice, Aftel monitors their performance as they correct their mistakes along the way. Even though they are completely exhausted, Aftel congratulates them, urging them to keep up the pace, and then suggests that they continue practicing another technique they had learned a while back. But seeing that he plans to keep the training going, Merlin suggests they take a short break to rest. Aftel replies that he isn't tired yet and could easily keep teaching, but noticing her sad expression, he softens his tone. Seeing that look in her eyes, Aftel recalls the day he first found Merlin. She was crying in despair, having just lost her entire family in a brutal massacre. Even though Merlin was too young to remember the details of that day, Aftel never forgot what happened to her family, and he still carries the heavy burden of one day avenging them. Shaking off the dark thoughts, he decides to steer the conversation to lighter matters, instructing the students to review Tier 4 magic spells. Merlin, however, quickly speaks up, asking him to teach them Tier 6 spells instead, eager to grow stronger as fast as possible. Seeing her enthusiasm, Aftel simply smiles and replies that they must master their concentration before even thinking about advanced magic. Merlin admits she wants to speed up her progress, but realizing that arguing won't change her master's mind, she drops the subject. Later that day, without telling anyone, Merlin heads into the forest with a clear goal in mind. She wants to defeat a monster on her own to prove she is growing as a mage. More than that, she wants to become Aftel's top disciple and eventually share his burdens by helping him teach the other students. Deep down, she does all of this because she believes Aftel has worked far too hard his entire life and deserves some rest. But upon entering a dark cave, Merlin is ambushed by a beast far more powerful than she ever anticipated. Forced to run, she quickly realizes her Tier 4 magic is completely useless against this creature. Deciding to take a massive risk, she calls upon her wind spirit to form a lightning bolt, but her rushed attack misses, and she takes a direct hit from the monster. Before the beast can strike again, Aftel suddenly appears, shielding her from the blow. He immediately scolds her, warning her that rushed magic is fragile and unstable, and no matter how promising she isn't ready for this. Just then, the monster lunges at them again. Aftel ends the fight instantly, firing a devastating lightning bolt straight to its head, an incredibly powerful, earth-shaking strike. Once they return home, Merlin remains in awe of his immense power. When he tells her to go to bed, she suddenly sees him coughing up blood. Merlin reveals that she has known about his failing health for a while now, confessing that she wanted to grow stronger as fast as possible because she couldn't just stand by and watch him suffer. Even as she begs him to rest and save his energy, Aftel replies that he simply doesn't have the time. When she asks why he keeps pushing himself to train these students, despite being so terribly sick, Aftel answers that he wants to raise promising mages just like her, people who can carry on everything he built over the years. Opening his heart, he confesses that he always dreamed of being the strongest in the world, but admits that, in the end, he was consumed by greed. In that pursuit, now, Aftel recognizes that he may never achieve that dream the way he once imagined. Even so, Merlin assures him that he is still an incredibly powerful person. As proof, she points out that to save her, he used Tier 10 magic with breathtaking ease, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Hearing this, Aftel understands what she is trying to say. He confides in her that, among all the mages in his old group, he was the only one who lived in constant desperation and anxiety. He explains that this dread came from the simple fact that he was the oldest, feeling the heavy passage of time far more acutely than any of the others. The next day, his students hand him an urgent announcement. According to the documents, the Flame God Emperor has established a brand new theory on magic aptitude. Reading through the papers, Aftel senses a deeper meaning behind the theory. When his student asks what he plans to do, Aftel announces that he will put this theory to the test. In the laboratory, he takes a few strands of Merlin's hair for the experiment. He explains to the students that they must place a strand of hair into separate flasks filled with a special magical water, each corresponding to the elements of fire, earth, water, and wind. Soon after, the flasks begin to glow, the liquids shifting into vibrant colors representing each element. Aftel explains that the intensity of the light and the depth of the color determine the user's magic rank, which ranges from I to S. For Merlin's results, the blue and green flasks glow the brightest, indicating that her water and wind magic are rank S. Meanwhile, a student points out the faint red and brown flasks on the table, leading Merlin to deduce that her fire is rank C and her earth is rank B. Focusing entirely on Merlin, Aftel confirms that her aptitudes are correct. He reflects on how magic academies operate, explaining that while students initially learn every spell in existence, they eventually specialize in the single element they have the highest affinity for. The sooner a mage discovers their true aptitude, the better their chances of becoming the most powerful student by graduation. Following these reflections, Aftel decides to test himself. However, the flasks do not glow at all. There is absolutely no reaction. Seeing this, one of the students looks at the paper and notes that if the liquid remains completely transparent, it means the person has zero aptitude. Aftel immediately goes into denial, while Merlin quickly suggests that the equipment must be broken, failing to show the correct result. Aftel keeps trying, but every single test yields the same empty response. Memories begin to flood back, reminding him of how he was always a slow learner, only surpassing others by working himself to exhaustion. He finally understands why the other 3 mages surpassed him and drifted away so quickly. After all, he has no innate aptitude. Overwhelmed, Aftel begins to cough up blood once more and is rushed to his room. Merlin goes to check on him, but he refuses to open the door, left alone in the dark, reflecting on his life and his greatest failure, which is the bitter realization that he never reached the true pinnacle of magic as he had always hoped. In this moment of intense pain, Aftel accidentally triggers an ancient, long-forgotten ability and is suddenly summoned by a goddess. He immediately recognizes the divine realm, remembering that he had been there once before, in his past life. The goddess explains that thanks to his rare ability, perseverance, Aftel never gave up on his ultimate goal. To reward him, she offers him a chance at reincarnation, letting him choose 2 new bonus abilities to start his next life. However, Aftel refuses any extra skills. He firmly believes that the vast knowledge of magic he already possesses is more than enough. Respecting his choice, the goddess wishes him luck and sends his soul to be reborn. Aftel wakes up in the body of a young boy, his memories slowly returning piece by piece. As he gets up and looks in the mirror, his mother walks in and wraps him in a warm embrace. Later, sitting at the breakfast table, reality finally sinks in. He has been given a second chance to reach the absolute peak of magic. His mother notices the intense look on his face, but Aftal quickly brushes it off, pretending everything is fine. In truth, his mind is racing as he recalls exactly how to prepare the magical fluid for the aptitude test. But when he performs the test on himself, the result is exactly what he feared. Walking outside, he feels a wave of bitter disappointment, realizing he is once again colorless, a mage with zero aptitude in his third life. Still, he tells himself he will simply have to work even harder this time around, especially since he now has a lifetime of youth ahead of him. Suddenly, a red-eyed dragon roars across the sky. Aftal notices a group of knights pursuing the beast, realizing someone must have angered it. Seeing the chaos, Aftal wants to help, but reality hits him. In this life, he is only 4 years old. For a brief moment, he deeply regrets not taking those starting abilities from the goddess, assuming he is powerless. But when he instinctively attempts to cast a spell, he actually succeeds, unleashing his devastating Tier 10 magic. The blast strikes the dragon, instantly turning the massive beast to ash. Stunned, Aftal realizes the truth. Even in this 4-year-old body, he has retained all of his peak magical power and mana from his previous life, carrying it all into this brand new reincarnation. The next day, Fraser, Aftal's older brother, visits their home to bring some money to help with the family expenses. After all, Aftal lives only with his mother, and the two of them live a very simple life, far from the capital, without receiving any direct support from the main family. As soon as he arrives, Fraser is welcomed by both of them. He hands the money to William, hoping it will be enough to support them for a while longer. Although he cannot solve all their problems, he makes it a point to visit them whenever he has the chance. Suddenly, while chatting with them, Fraser notices that Aftal is deeply focused on reading a book that is incredibly advanced for someone his age. Curious, he glances at a few pages and quickly realizes the content is highly sophisticated. Impressed by the boy's passion for learning, Fraser smiles and promises that on his next visit, he will bring some new books as a gift. Hearing this, Aftal gets very excited and thanks his brother. Studying is one of the few things that truly captivates him, and getting new books is a rare luxury for someone living so far from the city. During the conversation, the mood shifts when Aftal expresses how much he misses his father, asking when he will finally get to meet him. Fraser looks down for a moment before answering. With a sad expression, he explains that Aftal's father is extremely busy with his duties, making it difficult for him to visit anytime soon. Hearing this, Aftal cannot hide his disappointment. He mentions that he has never had the chance to see his father in person, a man who is none other than Duke Alcott, one of the most prominent figures in the Blue Kingdom's lineage of mages, and highly respected for his immense magical talent. Knowing how important his father is, Aftal confesses his dream of meeting him one day, still holding on to the hope of having at least one conversation with him. However, the family's reality is far different from what he imagines. Because William was born with zero magical aptitude, she was abandoned by Alcott and stripped of any consideration from his family. Over time, she also lost the respect of everyone associated with the Duke, including his mistresses and even his lawful wife. Furthermore, both William and Aftal were sent to live in this remote region precisely because they lacked magical talent. Far from the main family, the two of them have spent years practically forgotten, with no contact from Alcott or the rest of the lineage. Despite all of this, Aftal has never stopped admiring his father, believing that one day he will finally meet him. As for Fraser, despite being the second son of Alcott's lawful wife, he is completely different from the rest of his family. Whenever he can, he makes it a point to support them, bringing money, provisions, and anything else within his reach. Because of this, among all of Alcott's children, Fraser is the only one who truly cares about their well-being, doing his best to ease the heavy burdens they carry. During a conversation with Fraser, Aftal reveals that once he turns 15, he plans to go to a magic school in the imperial capital to pursue the path of a mage. He explains that this is a dream he has cherished for a long time, regardless of the obstacles ahead. Hearing this, Ilya quickly covers the boy's mouth, gently reminding him that he has no magical aptitude. In her eyes, clinging to this dream will only lead to a massive heartbreak for Aftal in the future. Ilya then explains that she has already mapped out her son's path. According to her, Aftel will dedicate himself to swordsmanship training with even greater focus. Once he reaches the right age, he will be sent to the military academy, where he can build a stable career far more suited to his practical abilities. Seeing where the conversation is heading, Fraser decides to use his remaining free time to test the boy's skills and see how much he has improved with the sword. After all, Fraser was the one who had taught him most of the techniques he knew. During their training, Aftel notices that Fraser always focused on physical combat and military tactics. Over time, he realizes his brother did this because he knew of his lack of magical aptitude, wanting to prepare him for a different future. As they train, Aftel breaks the silence and brings up his dream of studying at the Magic Academy once more. Fraser reminds him that he simply has no talent in that area, and that reality is unlikely to change. Even so, Aftel keeps pushing, showing he has no intention of giving up. Seeing the boy's sheer determination, Fraser decides to perform a small magical demonstration. He makes a promise. If Aftel can replicate the spell, even in the simplest way possible, Fraser will personally secure a recommendation for him to enter the Magic Academy. Hearing this, Aftel becomes even more motivated to prove himself. Fraser then starts putting on a massive show, chanting a dramatic incantation just to cast a pathetic wind spell that barely scratches the tree in front of them. Seeing that this was all he had to do, Aftel immediately replicates his brother's wind magic. But he does it with far greater power, completely bypassing the incantation and unleashing a blast much stronger than Fraser's, leaving his brother utterly stunned. Aftel, however, feels disappointed, thinking that casting a Tier 4 spell is no big deal. Fraser quickly points out that Tier 4 magic is actually considered high level. Dumbfounded, he asks how Aftel was able to cast a spell of that caliber. Aftel simply replies that he is using the knowledge and magical power he has been studying lately. He even reveals that he can cast far more powerful spells, all the way up to Tier 10. Hearing this, his brother completely loses his mind, stumbling backward in sheer terror. After all, Tier 10 magic is ancient, long-lost knowledge. Aftel finds his brother's reaction bizarre, but quickly remembers that he hasn't shown his magic to anyone in this era. Until now, he had actively avoided using his powers in public to prevent drawing unwanted attention. The only time he had used his magic openly was to defeat the dragon near those adventurers. Since none of them saw who actually killed the beast, they all believed the dragon's death was a miracle, a divine intervention. They attributed the event to the will of God, never imagining a 4-year-old child was behind it. Late in the afternoon, Aftel decides to study the mechanics of this world's magic a bit more. As he analyzes the books and compares his knowledge, he realizes that, by modern standards, his magic is indeed on a completely different level. He concludes that simply being able to cast spells without incantations would be enough to shock any mage in this world. As soon as Fraser wakes up, he starts bombarding Aftel with questions about the magic he just performed. In his eyes, a 7-year-old child should never be capable of such a high-level feat to throw him off. Aftel lies, claiming that after he cast the spell, a falling tree branch hit him on the head, and he is just delirious. The lie works, and he successfully fools his brother. As the days pass, Aftel remains focused on training under his older brother, striving to perfect both his swordsmanship and his magical knowledge. Even though he is defeated time and time again, Aftel's inherited perseverance from his past life keeps him moving forward. Years slip by. Now 10 years old, Aftel discovers that swordsmanship is actually quite fun, and he begins to set his sights on becoming a magic swordsman. One day, Fraser approaches him for their regular practice, but announces that this time, Aftel will train with Moriat, a former knight commander of the Blue Kingdom. Turning to Aftel, the imposing man tells the boy to attack whenever he is ready. Looking at him, Aftel is struck by the man's massive physical presence. Despite being told to strike first, Aftel cannot find a single opening. This man is clearly no ordinary warrior. He is far stronger than average. Moriat urges the boy to hurry up and make his move. Seeing that Aftel refuses to strike first, Moriat launches the attack himself. Aftel barely manages to dodge, struggling against Moriat's overwhelming strength and speed with the blade. During the clash, Moriat points out that Aftel is far too slow. In response, the boy secretly casts a physical enhancement spell, instantly boosting his movements. The battle intensifies as they lock blades, testing each other's raw strength. Moriat remarks that Aftel still lacks the technique and muscle mass to be considered a true swordsman. Just then, Aftel notices his own sword beginning to crack. Deciding to let it go, he doesn't try to force the clash. Instead, he grabs Moriat by the arm and executes a flawless jujitsu throw, slamming the giant of a man onto the ground. A martial arts technique he remembered from his previous life, used at the perfect moment. Everyone stands in absolute shock. Frazier then reveals that Moriat is actually the current director of the Blue Kingdom's prestigious military academy. He explains that this sparring match was actually a test to secure a full scholarship for Aftel once he turns 15. Later that night, despite a torrential downpour, Aftel continues to train outside. His mother and brother watch from the window, deeply worried, but Aftel is actually using the storm to his advantage. He is practicing his Tier 9 and Tier 10 spells, realizing there is still a slight delay when casting them. He knows the heavy rain is the perfect cover, ensuring no one notices the devastating scale of his magic or brings him the unwanted attention he is trying so hard to avoid. Suddenly, he is approached by Frazier, who rushes over to check on him, deeply worried after seeing a massive lightning bolt strike near the boy. Little does he know, it was the protagonist who cast it. Continuing their conversation, Frazier mentions that next year, Aftel will enter the military academy. Because of this, he urges the boy to be extremely careful and avoid getting hurt. On his way back home, Aftel reflects on their conversation about his military career. Right then, he makes a firm decision. The moment he turns 15, he will run away from home and find a way to enter the Magic Academy, no matter what it takes. Upon returning home, Aftel discovers that his father finally wants to see him. The next day, he goes to Alcott's mansion to meet him. As soon as he enters the study, Aftel greets him in a highly informal manner, instantly irritating Alcott, who still considers him a disgrace to the family name. Although Aftel had been anxious to meet his father, he now bitterly regrets ever wanting to. Alcott is far more unpleasant than he had ever anticipated. However, Alcott suddenly starts celebrating when he finds out that Aftel won a scholarship to the military academy. For a split second, Aftel thinks his father might not be so bad after all. But Alcott immediately ruins the mood, declaring that he will no longer need to pay child support now that Aftel has a scholarship. After all, the school will cover all of his expenses. He then orders Joachim, his other son, to test Aftel's skills to make sure he won't embarrass the family at the academy. I had a feeling this guy was going to be a piece of trash the second I saw his face, but I had to see it to believe it. He is actually much worse than I imagined, and I don't even want to know how he managed to win over his wife. A while later, Frazier warns Aftel that even though this fight is just a sparring match, he must be careful. Despite his non-threatening appearance, his brother Joachim achieved rare feats in swordsmanship during his student years and is considered a master. Before the fight even begins, Joachim starts bragging, telling Aftel he still has time to run away and avoid embarrassing himself in front of everyone. He tosses a sword to Aftel, who immediately notices that it is much heavier than normal. Even so, he adjusts his stance and grips the blade firmly, refusing to give Joachim the satisfaction of seeing him struggle. Seeing Aftel looking spaced out, Joachim mocks him, sneering that both Aftel and his mother are ignorant fools who need to be taught a lesson. He arrogantly offers to teach him a thing or two, claiming that Aftel will never understand the true meaning of nobility since he was raised far from the court and never received a proper education. He then explains that Ilya begged his father to let her give birth to Aftel. This is why Joachim hates her so much. In his eyes, Ilya brought eternal shame to the family the moment she decided to bring this boy into the world. On top of that, he claims that Aftel's very existence was a mistake that should have never happened. As the man speaks so vilely of his mother, Aftel's anger boils over. He can barely believe a man like this is his own brother. Even as he tries to keep his composure, his grip on the sword tightens, making it clear he is reaching his absolute limit. With that, he lunges forward. As they clash, Aftel quickly realizes that Joachim's swordsmanship is incredibly sluggish. He finds it hard to believe this man is considered a grandmaster in the region. Joachim's strikes are technically refined, but completely predictable to someone who can read his movements. Taking advantage of this, Aftel dodges every single onslaught with ease, driving Joachim to near madness. The spectating soldiers begin trading uneasy glances, completely caught off guard by Aftel's performance. Desperate to regain his superiority, Joachim increases the pace of his attacks, but his impatience leads to sloppy mistakes. During a sudden clash of blades, Aftel bypasses Joaquim's defense and lands a clean, heavy punch right to his face, sending him crashing to the ground. A heavy silence falls over the crowd. Aftel tosses his sword aside, warning Joaquim that he will kill him if he ever insults his mother again. Glaring from the dirt, Joaquim's eyes burn with hatred, but he knows he is in no condition to continue. Aftel then turns to his father, thanking him for the invitation. Stunned, the Duke stares at him in awe, instructing him to do his absolute best at the military academy next year. The Duke clearly sees his potential now, realizing the boy could become a highly valuable asset to the kingdom. Nearby, the surrounding nobles whisper discreetly about the boy's incredible strength. 2 weeks pass, and Aftel notes with relief that there has been no retaliation from Joaquim or the others. Still, he remains on high alert, suspecting this silence might just be the calm before a storm. Suddenly, a knock at the door breaks the quiet. Outside, they find Fraser carrying a baby. He explains that due to the ongoing war, the Crown Prince has become a primary target for their enemies. Believing Aftel's remote home is the safest place at the moment, Fraser brought him there. Aftel is stunned, never expecting to be dragged into a matter of state security. Fraser reassures him that almost no one knows the prince's location, minimizing any risk of assassination. Analyzing the situation, Aftel pieces the political puzzle together. Because the second son of the previous king of Azuri was far more capable than the eldest, he had claimed the throne, leaving the firstborn to serve merely as a minister. However, since the current king failed to produce a male heir for a long time, everyone assumed the throne would eventually pass to the minister's son. Everything changed the moment the current king finally welcomed his newborn prince. With that, the faction tied to the eldest son began to see the baby as a massive obstacle to gaining power. Eliminating the prince would once again clear the path for the succession to favor their faction, explaining why so many people wanted the child dead. Even with the kingdom's tight security, Aftel finds it strange that the barbarians managed to invade the place. Fraser deduces that their father has something to do with it, as he has a vested interest in the eldest son taking the throne. After their conversation, Fraser decides to set off, and Aftel insists on going with him to help. Along the way, Fraser explains they are close to the border of the neighboring country. Suddenly, they hear a strange sound echoing from the sky. They decide to quicken their pace to avoid being ambushed by monsters. The moment they clear the forest, they are startled to find a massive horde of men. Fraser immediately recognizes them as soldiers from the Duke's own magic division. Realizing they are trapped, they decide to turn back, but Aftel quickly warns him that the path behind them is already engulfed in flames. Hearing this, Fraser realizes the loud rumble they heard earlier was actually the sound of the entire forest being set ablaze. Within seconds, thick smoke begins to fill the air, blinding them. As the heat intensifies, they realize staying there any longer is suicide. With no safe escape routes left, Fraser decides their only choice is to try and reason with his father. He approaches the Duke, begging him to return to the royal capital and leave all this madness behind. Fraser tries to make him see the sheer irresponsibility of his actions and the devastating consequences they could bring to the entire kingdom. But the Duke's face remains cold, showing absolutely no intent of backing down. Even so, the Duke agrees to descend and speak with Fraser, as it is a request from his own son. The soldiers watch in silence. But the moment the Duke gets close to Fraser, he betrays him. Instead of talking, he activates a hidden magical device, unleashing a devastating blast directly at his son. The strike hits Fraser head-on, throwing him violently to the ground. Before anyone can react, the Duke orders his mages to begin chanting a high-level spell. Sensing the immense magical energy gathering, Moriarty is frozen in fear. He explains that it is an incredibly powerful Tier 6 spell, bearing the legendary name of one of the 4 emperors. As the atmosphere begins to tremble and the spell takes shape, the Duke unleashes the devastating magic directly at Fraser, a spell that ironically bears the protagonist's own name. A blinding explosion lights up the entire forest. When the magic finally dissipates, Fraser lies completely motionless, killed right before their eyes. Witnessing this, Aftel's rage shatters all limits. Without a second thought, he unleashes a Tier 9 spell, instantly freezing the entire forest around them. In a matter of seconds, the raging flames are snuffed out by ice, while the trees, the rocks, and even the very ground become completely covered in a thick layer of frost. The soldiers and mages stand frozen in shock, staring at the boy, utterly powerless. Some even contemplate retreating, realizing they are facing someone far beyond their capabilities. Losing his patience at his men's hesitation, the Duke barks an order to attack Aftal immediately. Obeying the command, the mages fire a rapid barrage of Tier 5 magical arrows at him. The sheer volume of projectiles completely engulfs him, kicking up a massive cloud of dust. The Duke smiles in relief, believing he has finally eliminated Aftal. However, as the dust settles, the young boy emerges completely unharmed. He calmly explains that he used a constant effect defensive magic circle, capable of blocking attacks of that caliber with ease. Refusing to believe their eyes, the desperate mages intensify their assault, stepping up to Tier 6 magic. Yet, Aftal merely watches with a disappointed expression, muttering that he expected much more from those serving the Duke directly. He activates an extra Tier 7 magical barrier, effortlessly neutralizing every single spell thrown his way. Deciding to abandon his defensive stance, Aftal draws his sword and charges at the mages with blinding speed. He cuts them down one after another. Some cannot even react before they are struck down, while others try to cast spells in sheer panic, only to meet the same fate. As the mages fall, despair grips the survivors. They begin to see Aftal as a true monster, an unstoppable force of nature. Realizing they stand zero chance, they scatter in all directions. Before they can escape, Aftal raises his hand and unleashes a Tier 10 spell, commanding the lightning itself from the heavens. Massive thunderbolts rain down successively across the battlefield, striking every single fleeing mage. With the enemy forces annihilated, Aftal slowly walks toward the Duke and stands before him and his brother. Staring at them without a hint of fear, Aftal declares that the Duke has just attempted to assassinate the Crown Prince, making it clear there is no longer any room for words. The Duke tries to assert his authority, shouting that defying him is an act of treason against the national army. Aftal swiftly firebacks, stating there is no forgiveness for a monster willing to murder a child. Following these events, both the Duke and Joachim are publicly hanged as punishment for their heinous crimes. Later, Fraser surprises Aftal by showing up alive. Though he appeared to have died from that devastating blast, Fraser reveals he was saved by the family necklace. Aftal suddenly remembers that he had cast Operon's protection on that very necklace, which kept Fraser safe from the deadly blow. Because of this, and since the realm is now without a leader, Fraser is chosen to take over the chaotic household of the Duke. Sometime later, Aftal demonstrates another glimpse of his true power to the two of them, explaining his specific reasons for keeping it a secret. Fraser nods in understanding, admitting that revealing such power could truly shake the foundations of the entire world. He promises that this will remain a secret among the three of them. Even with this godlike power, Aftal makes it clear that he still intends to attend the Magic Academy. Hearing this, Moriarty is astounded by the boy's determination, but reminds him not to neglect his swordsmanship. After all, no matter how strong his magic is, the sword will always be a valuable asset. Man, it is so satisfying to watch an anime that doesn't mess around. The dad messed up, and he sent him packing. They tried to attack, and he put them to the sword. He has absolutely no mercy when it comes to doing what needs to be done. So, if you want the next part, leave a like, subscribe, and I will definitely bring you the continuation. I'll see you there. Peace out.